form of healthcare, education, or dismantling national oppression and institutional racism, institutional class oppression, the system of oppression just continues and continues and continues. And this illusion of choice is little more than the playing around with divisive issues to have a very robust conversation with very narrow set parameters. So I'm a little tired. I'm working little. I'm working basically 6 12s a week, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. In the lead up to Christmas, delivering retail. So I'm a little tired, and I'm getting up at 2 a.m. every day. I'm trying to go to sleep at like 8 or 9 o'clock every day. This is my one day off, my humble home, and it is a beautiful day, beautiful autumn day here in rural North Carolina. My humble home. My wife's working on her homework. My son is sleeping, and I'm absolutely thrilled and happy to speak with you guys, my friends, my comrades. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being live. Thank you for watching this later. If you are watching this later, I'd love for you to get in the comments section. I go through and address, we can continue the conversation in the comments, either Facebook or YouTube. If you're on the YouTube, go to the Facebook, follow me on Facebook, Dust James Anti-Imperialist America. If you're on the Facebook, go to the YouTube and vice versa. The more shares and the more views I get, the bigger we can make this and the wider we can make this audience, and the more people can input and change the conversation to whatever direction it needs to go. All right. I see everybody on Facebook now. I got folks. Hopefully, I'm on YouTube. Today's discussion, I want to get a little bit more into those cultural aspects. Bear with me, folks. Hopefully, more folks are rolling in. How about that show last night with David Fox? That is fun. I'm doing 2 shows a week now. Working Class Revolt with Comrade David Fox and Anti-Imperialist America, my kind of solo vlog, video blog. Next week, a quick announcement for next week on Working Class Revolt. We're going to have the author and journalist Caleb Maupin, author of City Builders and Vandals. He's going to be discussing news updates. We're going to be doing a workshop on how to speak to reactionary workers, how to defend the points of socialism to average working people. It's going to be good stuff. So tune in 8 p.m. Friday, as usual. I'm always looking for guests. I'm always looking for people to interview. Any questions, concerns, or ideas, please email workingclassrevolt@gmail.com. That is my personal email it is my email for these shows of Working Class Revolt and Anti-Imperialist America. So I guess I'll get into it. If people want to get in the comments, anybody watching this, get in a comment and tell me where you're coming from. Tell me a little bit about your struggle and your thoughts, any questions. Shout out to Arctic Angel. Hello, everyone. Well, I'm glad to have Arctic Angel here. Continuing fan of the show. I appreciate you. Much love, comrade. Um, I guess I'm a little more. I got to get my spirits back up. Has everyone been watching those clips I made? I got a little angry on that last live. Exactly a week ago, I got a little angry. I got fired up. And I made some good clips of it. If people want to go look at those clips and share those clips, I think there's some good stuff in there in those clips. Specifically, specifically the clip titled "U.S. Elections Are an Assault on the Working Class," and that's what today's show is based upon. And shout out to Simon Wood, and shout out to Comrade Freaky. Hello, comrades. Hi, Dustin and comrades. Well, I am glad to have you here, and I'm sure you're glad to be here, and I would love to have more folks here. So I'll get into the day show. I was actually going to sing a song, um, and the song is both positive and negative. I think I will do that. I wasn't going to do that, but I will do that. U.S. culture is a weird place, and it's both full of good and it's both full of bad. And that's working class culture in general. It's full of the good, it's full of the bad. There's reactionary sentiments and working people in the United States, and there's also positive elements of understanding, of just anger, of wanting to have a better future. And it's complicated and it's mixed. And what really pisses me off is you got these pundits for the Democratic Party, and they're basically saying that all Trump supporters are racist. And I would agree with them. If you voted for Trump, at the very least, you were okay with voting for racism. That's absolutely true. And his racism is more obscene and more bigot and more out there. But it's equally true if you voted for Biden. You are at least okay with racism, because the racism of Biden is not that veiled. And then you get into the Democrats that have built and maintained institutions of racism. Biden, the crime bill. Harris, the enforcer of the crime bill, essentially building up and supporting the new Jim Crow, a major component of institutional racism in this country. They use the veiled, shallow identity politic terms like Black Lives Matter. Yes, support Black Lives Matter. But then they're building up the institutions that Black Lives Matter are a reaction to. And these Democratic people that support the Democrats say you should write off all Trump supporters. No Trump supporter could ever be an ally. But you have to back these most disgusting apparatus of imperialism. The Democrat Party is a terrorist organization whose whole purpose for existing is to convince a larger portion of the population to go along with these wars and these coups and these systems of racial oppression and this in the larger system of imperialism. That is the whole purpose of the Democratic Party. There's absolutely no reason to put any faith in the Democratic Party whatsoever. I often quote a speech from Che Guevara that he gave at the UN. I'll probably misparaphrase it. It goes, Nunca tenía confianza en el imperialismo, no tantito, sí, nada. Meaning, never have confidence in the empire. If you put any confidence in the Democratic Party, you're putting confidence in the empire. And I was rather distraught last night after these elections. I was distraught because I was looking at the reaction of people online celebrating the Biden victory, and I saw people. I usually add people that I have mutual friends with, trying to make this show as big as possible. I'm trying to get it up to 5,000 friends, but I'd like 5,000 friends that would be interesting in watching this show and be conversating me and participating in it. And you wouldn't believe the number of people I added that were blindly just praising and supporting um, Biden. And when I went to say, hey, what the hell is wrong with you? Biden is a racist imperialist. Like, oh, are you a Trump supporter? Like, fuck, I ain't a Trump supporter. No. And they couldn't get it out of their heads. People are so stuck in this twisted imperialist duopoly that any ideas of criticizing the entire system are completely outside of the possibility of their thought framework. It reminds me of the movie The Matrix, where if you start telling someone in the Matrix the myths that are holding up and propping up the fake system, they immediately become agents. Their face configures, become this suit and tie, the dude that says Mr. Anderson, ready to attack you. They become agents of the system, ready to defend the system. Like, that is some deep metaphorical shit. So I will sing that song that is both problematic, but and positive in many regards. So let me pull those lyrics up. Here we go. I'm going to sing a song which I believe is both revolutionary and positive and both extremely reactionary. Just the good old boys, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day where they were born. Straighten the curve, flatten the hills. Someday the mountain might get 'em, but the law never will. Making the way, the only way they know how. That's a little bit more than the law will allow. I'm a good old boy. You know my mama loved me, but she don't understand. They keep a showing my hands and not my face on TV. So that is Good Old Boys by Wailing Jennings. And I wanted to analyze that song um, from a Marxist perspective. Now, a lot of that song has both positive and negative elements. Let's address the term good old boys. Good is so good, positive. Old is in been there, been around, accustomed to. And boys, obviously, it's somewhat sexist. Boys referring to men having the prominent position in society. And that term is often used differently depending on the different audience you use it. In a more left circles, good old boy means recurs to the good old boys club, which is a system of favoritism, where only the people in the club that been in that community for a long time can get any positions of power. And anybody outside of that in marginalized communities or migrants is not allowed in that position of power. So I often refer to the Republican Party in North Carolina, which is both racist, reactionary, and favors the lower section of the bourgeois. I call them the good old boys club. That's one aspect of that definition. The other aspect of good old boys is from like a rural standpoint is your neighbor, somebody you know, somebody you're comfortable with. somebody you trust. And that's not necessarily a bad definition. I think it lends itself to a certain amount of homophobia. I mean, xenophobia, homophobia as well. But it lends itself to a bit of xenophobia um, in a bad way. And I've always shied away from that term. And I've always never liked that song. I would be discussing country music. I love outlaw country music. Outlaw country music is the air that I breathe. My mom and dad met singing country western and country gold hits in a Appalachian community, northern Appalachian community, and South Central upstate New York, around the Ithaca area. My uncle still plays that type of music, and I love outlaw country. Outlaw country, Wailing Jennings, you heard there, and some of the new stuff, Sturgill Simpson. But I like to highlight the more progressive elements in it. I like to highlight the more progressive elements in it because I feel like, I mean, I love my community. I mean, I love where I come from. I was once. I have an interesting story. I have. So I grew up in a house where it was chaos and poverty. There was 8 of us in a 2-bedroom trailer down a mile-long dirt road, and my parents were somewhat irresponsible. My little brother would sleep in the laundry. We were always called white trash when we went to school. Our clothes were too old. Um, it's part of my life and understanding, and I can understand where a lot of outlaw country music, and a lot of country music in general, can be both xenophobic, racist, but a lot of it shows class antagonisms. One of the ones in particular, there is a musician who I think is particularly racist, David Allen Coe. He has some disgusting racist bullshit songs. But at the same time, he has some very working class appealing songs. In the song, I'm not going to sing that song. If That Ain't Country. If That Ain't Country describes a childhood similar to mine. Talks about 15 kids in an old tin shack, selling tires by the side of the road. If that ain't country, you can kiss my ass. But it also he uses the N word in that song, and he uses the N word to refer to somebody that works very hard, which is interesting. It's both from the racist culture and standpoint, but it's also saying, it's almost like comparing, like, oh, I work just as hard as other oppressed people, in that song. And so it's neither, it's complicated. It's you cannot look at the world as everyone is either all good or all bad. You have to look at what people are. And if I got to choose, between trying to lift up and improve the mindset of fellow workers, I choose to love and support fellow workers over being manipulated by a party whose sole purpose is divide the working class for the benefit of empire, to support the more institutionalized, the dominant class, finance capital, the managerial class. The Democratic Party is some twisted, imperious, murderous bullshit. And they want to tell me that I should just write off all rural workers who may have voted for Trump. And I agree with them. I agree with them that that if you voted for Trump, you're at least okay with racism. But racism permeates every single aspect of U.S. society. And the majority of oppressed people in this country hold racism against themselves. And then working class people, oppressed people, will, to survive and to get by, have internalized many of these standards of oppression, and standards of the oppressive society. And we start enforcing these oppressive standards and ideas upon each other. And this is from working class communities of all colors and creeds. I mean, it's interesting, these myths that are held up over us. So I'll get in, and there's a lot of Confederate flag imagery used in country and rural stuff, and I was always a little bit confused by that. There's a lot of there's a lot of confusion. I mean, I am. I was always confused. Why are people associating positive culture, food, music, um, way of life, their neighbors, the rural landscape, the mountainous landscape? Why are they associating it with a flag of a political organization that only lasted 4 years? And the whole purpose of that political organization was in the defense of slavery. Why the hell is that associated? Like the good old boy song that I talked about was Wailing Jennings, and Wailing Jennings um, Wailing Jennings is cool, clean cat. Is a cool cat. Is a cool cat, man. Just that walking bass line, do do do. That walking bass line is just cool and driving. It's like walking, driving bass line. That's really common in outlaw music, outlaw country music, and country music. Um, there's a good one. Fucking Billy Joe Shaver just died. The outlaw country music songwriter, and he did where he did Honky Tonk Heroes, and it goes. I don't know, man. I'm a little out of it today, but that walking bass line that's common in country music from Johnny Cash, like I'm here in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. I mean, there's also this in country music. There's this whole outlaw persona, like, and it's interesting because the Democrats are using are like the embodiment, especially with Biden and Harris, in the fact that they're the ones propping up the prison industrial complex and the new Jim Crow. And then you see this like outlaw themes, and they're positive. A lot of these outlaw themes go back to how the state and the United States has been a part of the rich to put down the working class. This goes all the way back to the whiskey rebellions, when the mountain people would turn their goods into liquor, their corn into liquor to be able to transport it across the mountains. And they're coming down the east and sell their products. And the banking class didn't think they were getting enough money out of it. So they passed regulations, the whiskey tax. They only allowed large distributors that would pay and back them. And this was also a component of control. They could not have wealth in a region of the country among the populace they had no control over. So you had you had the whiskey rebellions, and that goes way back. And then you got the moonshiners, and that's a big thing. Running moonshine, running shine's a big aspect. If you Steve Earle's song "Copperhead Road" talks about getting back from Vietnam and basically growing marijuana and learning and using the sales distribution network that was developed by his grandfather through Shining. And in the song of Copperhead Road, which you hear at every bar in the South or in the rural areas, it's actually about shooting down police helicopters. And there's also this idea about shooting revenuers. You know, they're always wanting to tax the rich. I mean, they're always wanting to tax the poor instead of the rich. So I mean, these government people come up, G-men they call them, come up to take the money and shoot the goddamn revenuers. And I think this is a progressive tendency in rural culture, in rural America. This is a progressive, positive tendency against the bourgeois legal system, the prison system. David Allan Coe, the one I mentioned earlier, that talks about being working class, but also has very racist ideas. David Allan Coe, before he became a singer, was in prison. He's almost the embodiment of outlaw country music. Like, he was put in prison. And this was in the 1970s. This is the growing of the prison industrial complex. And and prison is one of the most racist places you can go to. People are treated like animals, and they resort to some of their most basic bestial preferences and discriminations. And that's what it brings people down to. So this racist motherfucker, working class motherfucker, singing songs about being working class, is interesting. Kept down, was oppressed and kept down by the prison industrial complex. The prison industrial complex, which was designed to keep black folks down. The new Jim Crow. They can criminalize black folks. They can take away their economic rights. They can stop them from progressing. They can they can continue that system. And a lot of poor white folks are caught up in the same system. There's an overlap of the new Jim Crow, the oppression of poor black and brown. So it's interesting that David Allan Coe, who was racist, is kept down by the same system that's keeping down African American folks through the prison system. And you got Democrats saying you should write off David Allan Coe. You should write off country working folks that have elements of racism with them. But and to do that, you have to align with a party that is the architect of the system of racism. That is how deep racism is in American culture. Racist Democrats, racist reactionary rural culture. It's all fucking racist. And it's all designed to maintain this system of class oppression. National oppression is a pillar. Or racial oppression, systematic racism is a pillar of the larger class oppression. So my understanding is that working class people, even with racist tendencies, are far more potential allies than the Democratic Party ever fucking thought of being. Fuck the Democratic Party. And when I say black and white unite and fight, I don't mean that loosely. I ain't some liberal hippie bullshit That, oh, we should all forget everything and be colorblind and walk hand in hand together. I'm talking about overcoming real cultural, historical divides, admitting the problems of racism, national oppression, admitting the grievances of all and any legitimate grievances of all and any working class and oppressed communities, overcoming and working through those tensions and cultural classes, and truly uniting to come against a common enemy, the enemy of the capitalists, these rich motherfuckers, the banking class, the bankers, the oil companies, this 1% of the 1% that is keeping all of us poor, keeping the whole fucking world poor. If you can get rid of the divisions that are propping up this system, you can help bring down the entire global system of US imperialism. Now, I also have a lot of respect for comrades in the national, who are organizing exclusively in, organizations to organize a people of oppressed nations and to fight against national oppression. And I think that is an ally. We shouldn't be forcing groups like that to work with. They have the right of self-determination. I mean, so people of oppressed nations from the oppressed nations within around the country, I mean, they got the right to write off these reactionary, racist, rural motherfuckers, who literally fucking wish ill on them. They got the right to write these motherfuckers off. But I fucking live here. This is my only hope of organizing people. And this is where I come from. If you can't organize the people to come from, what the fuck is wrong with you? And now, and with the dwindling of the labor aristocracy, there's more reason to organize and unite. There's more room. There's more material interest. Is the falling of the labor aristocracy. There's more material interest in uniting workers. Workers have more material interest in uniting with workers of oppressed nations. So let's talk about some of this. Now, I think I uniquely can talk about this. And so a lot of the Democrats like to call workers deplorables. Oh, they're horrible. They're working class people being exploited by the systems the Democrats created. And they call them deplorables. And they make fun of their poverty. And you see this, or they say they vote against their class interest by not voting for us. Well, both parties are a vote against their class interest. To begin with. But I found that absolutely disgusting and cancerous, and I can't stand that shit. I see some middle class fucking liberals talking shit about rural people for being poor, for being uneducated. Fuck them. Now, when I see working class people of oppressed nations poking a little bit of fun of their their white neighbors and coworkers, I'm a little more open to that. Basically, I fuck the establishment. Fuck the establishment. Fuck imperialists. Fuck their parties. And long live the working class. I love the working class of all creeds and colors. And we should be building up the working class. Revolutionary, educating the working class of all creeds and colors. And why am I okay? Is that a double standard to say fuck the Democrats and the white liberals for making fun of working rural folks, but not say fuck, the fucking people of color neighbors for making poking a little bit of fun of white rural folks? And I say nah. And this is why I say it. So I grew up, fucking white trash as hell. And I ended up being basically adopted into my ex-girlfriend's family who lived in the Mexican trailer park. And I was partly raised by undocumented migrants. Uh, that's probably why I got Swiss. And a lot of what she would say is white folks got to understand something. People of color or oppressed folks, black and brown folks, they have been told their whole life, you're not as good as white folks. They've been told their whole life, you can't achieve as much as white folks. You're inferior to white folks. This is what they've been told in the media, in the school system. A lot of people of color have like downgraded expectations of themselves because of overall racism in this country. So when people of color wake up and they see fucking trashy ass white motherfuckers that are stupider and more fucked up than them, I mean, they legitimately get a thrill out of that shit. And I get that. You've been told your whole life you ain't shit. And that's kind of what some of my friends in the trailer park be like, Dustin, man, I thought all these white motherfuckers were rich as fuck and had it better than me and acted and were better than me, but your fucking family is shit. Your fucking brother lives in fucking fucking sleeps in dirty clothes, and your mom and dad barely fucking take care of you half the time. They let you run wild and do whatever the fuck you want. God damn, I'm glad, I got my mom to fucking or parents that actually maintain a structure in the household. And that was just to see that help them get over their internalized racism. So, but I don't think that's the best revolutionary strategy. But I think oppressed people poking a little bit of fun at their white neighbors, to help themselves overcome some of this internalized racism is absolutely fine. And white folks, don't take offense. Don't have no thin skin. Don't be fucking snowflakes. If you know what I'm trying to get at there. So Lenin, workers and oppressed people of the world unite. And unity has to come from struggle and legitimate appealing to people's better interest. You guys get the idea. I mean, I can go on this for a while. I've been doing this 39 minutes. That was kind of the ideas I had around this show. Maybe I'll address some of the comments. Huey Long says, hit the like button, y'all. Go ahead, folks. Please hit the like button on the YouTube. Hit the like button on the Facebook. Hit the love react on the Facebook. Joseph V, thanks for joining. Big Scottish Irish influence in Appalachian music and culture. And that's absolutely true. And there's both positive and negative aspects of that. There's beautiful things in Appalachian culture, and there's negative. I'll tell you a little bit of story. Square dancing, which I did as a child, is you got mostly bluegrass, and it's very fun and lively, and most of it comes from Celtic roots. And some of these racist politicians were trying to promote bluegrass as the national dance because it's mostly white folks there. It's an interesting bit of music, but it's mostly white folks. So they're trying to promote that over other musical genres, is that one being more American. And that's complete and utter bullshit. Working class culture, black, white, is all a part of the American culture. To put one bit of it over another is horrible. And you know what's funny about that? You know what's really fucking funny about that? They say that there's a big Scottish Irish influence in Appalachian music and bluegrass in particular. But a lot of that stuff goes back to the Romans interacting with the Arabs. And a lot of music, just mathematically speaking, comes from the Arab world. Rock music, blues music, a lot of it comes from the Muslim prayer, the call to prayer, which is this rhythmic. That it was sung by slaves, and the Muslim prayer has a big influence in rock music and country music. And all these xenophobic motherfuckers that love country music but can't get how culture and music is a global phenomenon. There is no isolating fucking music or culture. These fucking racist xenophobes. Like, I like this. Where the fuck did that shit come from? It was a global cultural phenomenon. Everything beautiful in this world is a product of human beings struggling in the political economic system that has been created and they're a part of. Culture is allowed to be created based on the economic political conditions. Black and white unite and fight. Can someone tell me what drinks are in the background and where to get them? So yeah, in the background, I got these from this soda shop. There's a picture of. They're just really sugary sodas, and that's why I didn't drink them. I just used them for display purposes. They got Gaddafi, Stalin, and Castro. And I was like, when I went to the store, I was like, "Hey, where are them hero sodas? I want one of them hero sodas." And he's like, "Oh, you mean the dictator sodas?" Anyways, I got them, and somebody drank my Kim Jong Un. I had a Kim Jong Un soda, and some motherfucker came to my house and drunk that shit. Be honest with you. Can someone tell? Okay, okay. Black and white unite and fight. You're absolutely right. Artigandra, Leon, and the woke left hates white workers, especially in the middle of the country. And that's correct. Like I said, the interest of the working class is the idea of solidarity. It's not about and it's about selling. It's about selling our ideology. We're marketing. We're marketing socialism to as many people as possible to get as much power as possible. And this new woke left, synthetic left, it's all about sterilizing the message. It's all about kicking people out. It's basically just capitalist fucking egocentric megalomaniacs trying to create some kind of bullshit fucking position for themselves, being manipulated by the Democratic Party and the ruling elites to just create divisiveness, and that's a lot of what it is. So I mean, Lenin's saying workers and oppressed people of the world unite. And not in a superficial way, in a real way that addresses the real grievances and issues that people face. Okay. Have you seen the video of fellow traveler quitting Maoist third worldism? No, I have not, Comrade Freaky. If you want to put a link to that in the comments, that would be great. I'll check that out. Ava Ferris, looking fresh dust. Well, thank you, Ava Ferris. Simon Wood, LOL. Wasn't me, I'm in Australia. Well, thank you, comrade. It's great to have an international fan base. I actually honestly think there's a lot of cultural overlap between rural America and Australia. And it's both positive and negative, and I think that's part of it. And I don't know, David Fox. I put out an email saying, "Hey, I want people to interview. I want interview people." He immediately got in that. It's like, oh, and was ready to work with me. And he's been an absolute pleasure working with David Fox. Let me look at the Facebook comments. Great speech. Okay, people. I don't have. There's not Facebook people. YouTube people are beating you. If you are on the Facebook Live, you need to get in the comments because there is no comments. All right, so I mean, I'll continue on. So, oh, I was getting into that. So that bass line in country music, do 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 da 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 da. Okay, so a lot of Mexican music, rural. So I was, so like I said, I was raised both in a country household and largely Mexican household, and for at least a good portion of my teenage years. And there's a music called banda, and the bass line in that is bum 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 bum, and you get big bass speakers just blow this out. Saturday in the trailer park, you can't even fucking sleep at night. And it's interesting. That's a very similar bass line, and it comes from a lot of it's from Western music, and Western music, the whole cowboy culture, the whole white cowboy is kind of a myth created by Hollywood. A lot of cowboy culture is Mexican culture, and it was culturally appropriated. But it's created very similar music with groups, with exploited, oppressed groups that are being told to hate each other. Donald Trump using these, claiming to be anti-establishment, but being just as divisive as the Democrats, if not more divisive, trying to disconnect, Mexican immigrant workers and white workers, and it's absolutely disgusting. And there's cultural overlap in Mexican banda music and in country music, and and there's lots and lots of examples um, of that. I mean, you got Mexican country singers of Mexican roots. You got Freddie Fender, that 1970s soulful, and he incorporates elements of both soul, country, and Mexican music in his work. Like his Freddie Fender's the Last Teardrop's a big one. But I always like Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. It goes Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. That's a beautiful song, I know more of the fucking lyrics on that. I'm fucking better at that. Oh my god, I'm a little tired and out of it this morning. Wasted Days, and then also you got Johnny Rodriguez. Johnny Rodriguez is firmly part of the outlaw country music scene. And the outlaw country music scene is basically just whatever pop is, whatever's not on the main station. And there's a lot of racism in outlaw alternative country music. There's also that's also where all the progressive country music, that's where the anti-war country music is. That's Chris Christopherson. That's Sturgill Simpson. Recently, this dude from the Mavericks, I think I'm not sure his background racially, but he speaks Spanish, and he created a whole Spanish speaking album with the Mavericks, and that motherfucker got beat up in a bar for speaking motherfucking Spanish. That's some fucked up shit, But it's out there. There's cultural standpoints and cultural works that can unite us instead of being torn apart by both the Democrat and Republican parties, whose interest is backing the system that's holding all of us down. Johnny Rodriguez, thumbing my way to Mexico. Oh fuck, is a good song. Um, let's keep going. Fucking, there's another outlaw motherfucker that was a good song. Johnny Paycheck's Colorado Kool-Aid. He talks about that's an interesting song. I'm not gonna say if it's positive or negative, but I think there's a good positive. He talks about going out and sitting at a bar, and some racist motherfucker he's talking with some Mexican folks, and this racist motherfucker comes off up to him and just starts talking shit and talking shit and talking shit. And his Mexican friend goes up and cuts off part of that motherfucker's ear. Well, that's kind of making Mexican folks look violent, and that's not the case. But it's kind of showing fuck the racist and don't mess with my Mexican friends. That's an interesting outlaw song. And Johnny Paycheck, he does a great song. Fucking Colorado Kool Aid, along with Mama Tried. Is that Merle Haggard? I don't remember. There's two similar songs, one by Merle Haggard, one by Johnny Paycheck. I think Merle Haggard's "Mama Tried." What was the fucking? There's another outlaw song by fucking Johnny Paycheck. I don't remember it. Um, oh, the song by Johnny Paycheck is "I'm the Only Hell My Mama Ever Raised," and that's a good fun outlaw song. And it's and you get the dreams. Working people are held down, and they go to work, and they're kept, and they're not allowed to do nothing. They're not allowed to say this. They're not allowed to do that. You hear outlaw country music about breaking the status quo, breaking the law, and being more adventurous and a more full human being. You can see how that appeals to the working class and how that appeals to working people, especially when the whole legal framework and the whole system is designed to keep down the working class. And you see that in corridos, the narco corridos, and a lot of outlaw music. Honest, I got up on one time. I got up on Facebook. There is no fucking so to get outlaw music, you have to go on a satellite radio, or you have to go on a college station, or you got to get it off YouTube. The fucking bullshit pop country music. Fuck pop country music. The same goddamn rhythm, the same fucking pandering motherfuckers who ain't lived shit. Like that real grungy, hard outlaw fucking music. You barely hear that shit on the radio. And you got this fucking pansy ass bullshit, urban shit out of Nashville. And then so I got up on Facebook one day and I said the only outlaw music left on the radio is Mexican banda music, because that shit is fucking real. That shit, the whole fucking community is against the fucking law. That's some real fucking outlaw shit. So fuck the fucking law, fuck the bourgeoisie, and long live the united working class, and fuck both their parties. All right, friends, I think I'm going to call it. I'm approaching the hour. Um, I think I might start ending the show with that. We should always remember Lenin's response to imperialism. Workers and oppressed people of the world unite.